A very good evening. I am Dr. Kinjal Chandra. I am a pediatric occupational therapist, and today I'll be talking to you about the upside of lockdown for our children. Before I begin, I would like to thank Alpha World for giving me this opportunity and this platform that I could address a lot of people regarding their concerns, a common concern that we all are facing regarding our children and how to handle them, how to take care of their physical, mental health, the tantrums that they have, the academic concerns that they are having, all of that during these times of global pandemic. So a big thank you to Alpha World once again. Okay. So I think few months back, things were fine, and suddenly we were asked to confine ourselves in our houses. The coronavirus global pandemic has been in a boom currently, and we are all worried about our kids, our extended family members, about ourselves, about our finances, about the economy, about the academic concerns of our children, and it is definitely having a big toll on our mental health, and not just on our mental health but on the mental health of our kids as well. So I think now it's going to be around close to 30 days that we are practicing social distancing, and we are within our houses, and so are our kids. We do feel that the social distancing will end soon, or the lockdown will end soon, but we have our doubts for the children, that will the schools really start post the lockdown ends, or will the lockdown for kids will be extended. So that makes the kids all the more anxious, right? So that's what we are going to discuss about. Why is it that we are feeling anxious and our kids are feeling anxious during these times? And what are the strategies, or what are the techniques, or what are the ways in which that we can help them overcome these unpredictable and a very unusual times that I think none of us have ever experienced. Okay. So now what happens is, for the parents or the adults, all of us, it's a very overwhelming time currently. We are juggling between our work, we are working from home, we are supposed to take care of our parents, we are supposed to take care of our kids, we are supposed to keep them engaged, we are supposed to be keep ourselves updated about the current updates that are happening about the vaccinations or the medications, or what's happening about the coronavirus thing. We are worried about extended family members whom we don't get to see that frequently as we used to earlier. We are worried about our own financial issues, that when will it start, what about the employment, what about the companies that we were working in. And that is good enough to set our brain onto a roller coaster ride of worries, emotions, stress, anxiety. Now, similarly for kids, what has happened is the schools have shut, the classes are closed. They cannot go out for family get-togethers. They cannot go out for birthday parties. The weekends wherein they used to go out and they used to enjoy themselves, even that has stopped. The routine has completely changed. They are confined into these four walls. It results in a lot of restriction of movements, play-based movements, and that is good enough to set their a little immature brain into a lot of anxiety and stress. So when we as adults feel anxious, we have a way of showing. Now, psychologically, anxiety, you can't see it, but you can see it in the way in which the person behaves. So how is it that we behave when we know that we are anxious? Our hearts will start racing, we will have palpitations, we will have sweaty hands and feet, we will have repetitive thoughts, obsessive thoughts about whatever is stressing us. We feel fatigued, we feel tired without any reason, or along with taking adequate amount of rest, we still feel that we are tired. We get easily provoked. One small provocation and results in an anger outburst. We are irritable, our digestion has gone for a toss, we feel that we are not being able to focus on whatever we are trying to do. We have sleep disturbances. All of us, the sleep patterns have gone for a toss, and we feel restless. Now, when kids feel anxiety, at least we can say that I am feeling a little anxious because of this. But kids, they don't have the words, the vocabulary to say that, Mama, I'm anxious, or Mama, I'm stressed. So, but then how do you figure out that your child is currently stressed? So, what they will show is they will become more clingy. They will want to be around stick around mama and papa all the time. They will be very restless. They will not be able to sit at a place. They will be fidgety, taking this, taking that, fidgeting with it, not following our instructions as good as they were following earlier. Their sleep patterns are not, as per, what they were earlier during before the lockdown. They have sleep disturbances, they'll have potty accidents, they'll have bedwetting issues. They can suddenly start acting like a baby, as in they suddenly want a lot of attention and love and care from you. And I'm sure many of us have experienced this, as in I do get calls from the parents of the kids that I see, and one thing that they all tell me is that the child is suddenly behaving as if he's regressed, or regressed as in he's wanting me to be around more, or he's wanting me to give a lot of instructions, he's wanting me to cuddle him and be around him and stick on to me. Now there's a reason why this is happening, and that's what, when we understand that reason is when we will be able to understand what do you do about it, right? So let's go there. So the lockdown, though it is physically constraining us, it is having an effect at our brain level. That's what we figured out by now. Now, exactly what is happening at the brain level and what can be done about it is, so to understand that better, I have broken it down into two parts. One is, why do we and kids behave in a particular way? Second is, the strategies that I'm going to discuss, how is it that those strategies are going to benefit you? So let's start with the first one. First of all, why do we and the kids are currently behaving the way we are behaving right now? So that gets me to explain you with the brain diagram. I hope it's clear. So let's divide the brain into this part, the red one, and this one. It is called as the lower brain, or the primitive brain, or the old brain. And this part is called the new brain, or the neocortex, or the higher brain, the lower brain and the higher brain. Now, the higher brain has got a lot of important functions. That is, it helps us understanding that this is danger or it is not a danger. It will help us focus. It will help us with our attention. It will help us with problem solving, with logical reasoning, with impulse control. It helps us with all of that. Now, this is lower brain. Now, what happens is, when I'm talking to you, when I'm seeing you, when I'm feeling something, all the senses of our body, which is vision, smell, eating, hearing, all of that, they send impulses through this part, and it comes here. It comes here and it gets processed here. Okay? क्या हो रहा है currently, and then it is sent to the different parts of the brain according to the input that has come. Now this part of the brain will decide कि ये input कैसा है and what do you need to do about it logically, thinking, questioning, reasoning, problem solving. According to that, it will send the input back and it is sent back to the body. Example, if I want to pick up something, it will tell me, the vision will tell me that it's kept here. The brain will process it. It will send to the motor area of my brain. That will send the impulse back to the processor and it will send it back that take your right hand, take it here, pull it. This is the amount of weight it has. This is how big it is. And this is how close you're supposed to keep it. So this is the continuous input and output of impulses that is happening in the brain. Now, the issue is that the inputs from the older brain, from the body, is taken to this older brain. Now, just a second. So now this older brain, what it does is it takes the input, it processes it, and it associates it with a feeling. That's an emotional, this is our emotional brain. So it associates it with a feeling and then it stores it as a memory, so that we can use it whenever we would want it in the future. Now, example would be you are walking on the road and you see a snake, and mama or daddy or whoever, they told you, oh no, it's a snake and it's a scary animal and it can bite you and it is dangerous for you. So the input went, it recorded it, it stored it with a feeling of fear and anxiety, and it stored it in a memory. That next time whenever you will see a snake, it will tell you, alert, 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 there's something which is dangerous here, and you take a call onto it and you are safe. That is what the function of this old brain is. So what it does is, it when it is triggered, it will not let the impulses reach the higher parts of the brain. And if they don't reach the higher parts of the brain, the we as an individual won't be able to take logical and mature decisions, and we will act a little immaturely and reflexively. So the input comes, you see a danger, and the reflex would be that you will go into something called as fight, that is, you will try to fight that danger, or flight, that is, you would want to run away from that danger, or freeze, you will just be frozen there not knowing what to do, right? So all three of it are not the kind of right responses when it comes to when the danger is not real. What anxiety does, it makes you feel everything is real when it is not. So it results in a lot of reaction and less of thinking and responding. Now, this is like the main chunk of information that I would want to share, and is going to be an eye opener for all of us, is that this part of the brain was very important during the older days, during those days of Stone Age, during those times when we were like these nomadic tribes, when we had to hunt for food and hunt for our livelihood, everything. So this part of the brain played a very important role. How? One thing was that for me to be okay during those times, I have to have a safe place to be in. So now a safe place would be a den, or it would be a cave that we had made that time, and so that we are safe from the predator. And second was, I need to be in a group. That is how the human became a social animal. I have to be in a group so that in case there is an attack from anyone, we all of us can come together and shoo away that enemy or shoo away the predator. So safety and connection were like the most important things for this part of the brain. In case any of this is not given to this brain, it senses it and it sends out alarming signal: danger, 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 there's something wrong, there's something wrong. So that we take those measures of fight, flight, or fright, right? Now if we look at the current scenario, it's the same thing right now. Though we are in our houses, but we are still scared that, are we getting the vegetables? Are we washing it well? Are we cleaning our hands well? Are we washing our hands properly? Is our immunity good enough? Are we eating food? Are we eating the right kind of food? Are our family members well? So we are worried about our safety, though we are indoors. And second is, we are missing the social connections that we had earlier. So the connection is gone, and the safety is also a little bit worried about. So that is resulting in a lot of alarming that is happening from this lower part of the brain, and is causing a lot of stress and anxiety and poor behavior in children, and anxiety in us adults. I hope this part of the live is pretty clear to you, because this is how you will understand that why are the kids behaving in this particular way, right? Now that gets me to another part of it, which is the strategies that I'm going to tell you. How is it that they are going to work? And this is going to be the most fun part of it. And I usually like to talk about these topics which are related to kids. When you come down to their level and you become that kiddish and you try to understand it, it will make a lot of sense to you. So now is going to be the fun part. Now what happens is, the brain, it has sensed that there is danger around, there's something not right that is going around. Why is the school shuts in such a long time? Why can't I meet my friends? Why is the playground not open? When will I get to go? All of that is already happening, and the brain is stressed here. And what comes that time is this I made this is a kind of animated character, and this is adrenaline. It is a chemical that is secreted in our brain, and as you can see it is so stressed. His eyes are all puffed up and red, and blood has its blood has pushed itself in the eyes. So what is happening is, the adrenaline will result in pumping up your nervous system to prepare you for a fight, flight, or freeze response. So it is resulting in your heartbeat increasing, it is resulting in your blood pressure increasing, it is resulting in palpitations, it is resulting in you not being able to make a informed decision. And the connection with the lower brain and the upper brain is lost because of this adrenaline. And during these times, this is already happening, and this times the mother comes and the child comes and tells the mother that I've been playing for, so the child has been playing for on the mobile phone for the past 1 hour, and now the mama says please give it back to me, and he says I want to play for some more time, and it has resulted in a stressful situation again, because mama doesn't want him to play with it anymore. Now, this situation can go in two ways. One is, let's see the first situation and then let's see the second situation. Now, the first situation, which usually happens, is the child says, no, I will play with it. I'll not listen to you. You are always not letting me play with it. What do I do? I'm getting bored. I want to play with the phone one more time. Now, the child is escalated. His behavior has come from here to here. What happens is the parent or the adult who's already stressed out because of the current situation and how it works, I just explained that to you. It comes and seeing this child escalated, she escalates as well, he or she, the father or mother. And now the parent starts scolding or yelling at the child that you never listen to me, I just let you play with it, but and you promised that you give it back to me, now you're not listening to me, you never listen to me, and on and on and on and on. And then finally what happens is both of them result in a lot of power play happening, which is not a good sight to see, and it might result in a meltdown or a situation which is not good for us to be in, because neither of us wins and might result in a little bit of hitting the kid, which is not the right thing. So here the tone of the parent played a very important role. We were shouting, we were at a very high pitch, the body language was very aggressive, we were using our hands very vigorously, the body language, the way in which we were standing, our eyes, our teeth, our clenching of the teeth, everything the child was focusing, and it was escalating the situation higher and higher. Right? So when the child is at this phase, so the curve starts from here, the child is normal and the behavior is coming, this is at its peak, and then it will go down and then it will de-escalate. So when the child is at this escalated point, none of the talks that you are doing, that you never listen to me and give it back to me and everything, none of it is going in the brain. What he can that time, be it a child or be it an adult, at this stage what they can understand is the tone of your voice, is your body language, that is your non-verbal communication. Your words don't matter that time. So even if you're speaking in Gujarati, you're speaking in Chinese, you're speaking in any language, they don't seem to go into the brain. So what can be done during this time is what we will see, the situation 2. Now it's the same situation. Now what the parent does is, so this is the brain, escalated, asked for the phone, said no, the adrenaline comes into the picture. The brain is stressed out. Now what, instead of yelling, what the parent will do is, the parent will first reduce the tone of his voice, the volume of his voice, come a little closer to the child and validate his feelings, that I know that you are stressed. I know that you want to play with it because you don't have the school, you are bored, you don't have anything to do currently, and you are feeling like what else can I do right now, so you're keeping yourself engrossed, but then still this is not the right thing to do. So you validated the child's feeling, and then the mother or the father will try to hug the child or try to cuddle that child, as in you try to pamper the child, that it's okay, give it back to me. What results that time when you cuddle and you pamper the child is that this hormone, which is called as oxytocin, it is the love hormone. So any time when we are being cuddled, or we snuggle in a very soft blanket, or we are being kissed or hugged, is when this oxytocin is released. It will come and it will kind of soothe the adrenaline. It will ask him to kind of settle down, calm down, and it will ask this lower part of the brain to reduce those signals that it is sending. It will start a calming effect on the brain. Now this has already started. Then you give the child firm compressions and hugs and kisses, and you can put on a soft music. Your tone of voice is low. What results is, what comes in next is this GABA Baba. I call it GABA Baba. So it is another neurochemical or a chemical of the brain which will come in and will will calm down the excited brain or the overstressed brain. It will kind of sprinkle water on whatever heat that has happened here, and will result in a calm down, composed brain, and a composed brain. uh, what it will be seen as now, the sweating has reduced, the palpitations have reduced, the child is a little less aggressive, he is more responsive, he feels warmth, he feels loved because of the oxytocin, and because of the GABA he feels calm and composed. So when the child is calm and composed, he will become a little more responsive. So the mother will say, you don't get to play it for another one whole game. You can play it this particular time, and then you have to give it back to me. The child will be a little more responsive. He will do that. The moment he starts agreeing to it, the parent will reinforce the child that you're such a good boy. You just listen to mama, and you are awesome, or some good reinforcements. Now, what that results in is this. This is what comes into picture then. This is the dopamine. This is another neurochemical which will come, the chemical of the brain which will come, and it will make the brain, the stressed brain, feel very, very happy. It's a feel good hormone. So now we understand that when you have a stressed brain, the lower brain is functioning, the upper brain is not functioning well. When you stress it more, adrenaline comes into the picture, and it stresses the brain out more. Now, to reduce the effect of these two, we start cuddling the child, we start validating the child, which results in secretion of oxytocin, which will help the brain calm down, feel loved, feel connected, feel warmth. Then comes the GABA, which will help the brain feel calm, because you just gave pressure, you snuggled the child, you calmed the child down, and then you reinforce, and that makes the child feel happy because dopamine has come in. So this is exactly how all of us work, based on these neurochemicals, and they can be controlled by our tone of voice, by our body language, by giving reinforcements, by hugging the child, by cuddling the child, by validating their feeling. So isn't it great? Now that we know that this is how the brain works, we can work on, come up with strategies that will help in secretion of these hormones, and this will help in just a minute.
वॉइस क्लियर है, कुछ ही ना रखे आप कमेंट के वॉइस क्लियर है, वैशाली से बराबर है.
Okay, so I just got a comment that the voice isn't clear. Am I audible and clear now? Am I audible now? Can I continue? Okay, so I'll continue. In case there is any difficulty in hearing me, please let me know. We'll try to adjust it again. Okay, so by this we finish this most important part of it. The brain, the agitated, we say bye-bye to adrenaline, bye-bye. We say welcome oxytocin, welcome our GABA baba, and welcome to our dopamine, right? Okay. Now, after we understand this, dealing with this lockdown for parents is like a double-edged sword. Okay, here you need to manage and multitask your work and your fears, and here you need to manage your child and engage your child, right? So the most important person right now, to even if we want to help the children, is the parent or the adult or all of us, right? So now, after understanding all of this, what I understand is that when the child is misbehaving, or when the child is doing whatever he has been doing for the past few days, what his brain or his central nervous system is asking from all of us is that I want safety, I want connection, I want movement, and I want predictability. I want structure and routine, because everything has gone haywire currently, right? So now let's first come to the parent. what they can do so that they can help the kids better. Now, as an adult and as a parent, we need to help ourselves first, right? So I'll give you a small analogy which will help you understand this. It's like the parent and the child, they are connected via a Bluetooth. So the parent is the Bluetooth and the child is the mobile phone or the device. So the device is on, the Bluetooth is on, the device is picking up everything, every signal. Even if there are 10, 15 other Bluetooths around, the child is picking up those vibrations or those signals and inputs, right? So the connection between the Bluetooth and the device has to be really strong. So now suppose this Bluetooth, which is the parent, is stressed, is anxious, is angry, is upset, is sad, is worried. Obviously, you are going to send the same kind of vibrations or the input to this device, and this device has no option, or it doesn't know anything else but to pick up those vibrations, right? So whatever you are experiencing, unknowingly you are passing it on to an already anxious and an already stressed and an overworked brain of the child. So there's a term in therapy which is called as co-regulation. That is, you regulate. So whatever you are feeling, you are passing it on and you are co-regulating the child. So you're co-regulating the child, right? Just a second. So what it tells us is, I need to be aware of my feelings, of what I feel, so that I can regulate myself, as in I can work on my feelings first, so that I don't radiate the same feelings to my child. And in case my child is upset and angry and all of that, I can help him to be at a very good place or a calm place where I am, and help him co-regulate with me. I hope this concept of co-regulation is clear to you, because this is what is going to help our kids the most. And for that, we need to take care of ourselves. Now, what can we do to regulate ourselves? Is one is meditate. Second is listen to calm, soothing music. Third is have a structured routine for yourself. Have a structured routine for yourself. Um, indulge in a lot of self-care activities, like exercise a lot, sleep well, have healthy food, pursue a hobby that you've been not been doing for the past so many years because of your busy schedules. Don't try to be perfect during these times, that my house is supposed to be clean and this is supposed to be kept here and this is how the house is supposed to be and this is how the kids are supposed to behave. Don't do that right now. Don't pressurize yourself right now there. Don't compare your life or your kids, your life. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Don't compare your life and your children with what you see with other families on the social media. You don't know what struggles they are going through, and that they don't show, obviously. So they are just showing the good part or the positive things that they are trying to do. So don't compare yourself. It will reduce the added anxiety that you go through. Now, this is like time has paused or the time has slowed down. So this gives us an amazing opportunity to do stuff that we never got time to do, right? And the biggest one is emotionally bond with our child. Teach them very important life skills, self-care skills. And one of these is, we can always teach them to respect. Now, respect, we can always teach respect when we respect their decisions. A small decision like the doll will be kept here instead of here, and with a logical answer to it, can be respected, which in turn teaches the child respect. Just a second. Camera. Okay. So we are back again. Responsibility. This life skill is also important, right? So how can they be taught responsibility? Give them small tasks in the house, or small chores of the house that they have to do on your own, like rearranging their study table or rearranging their shelf. And don't be judgmental about it, even if it is a little here and there. Teach them in a very positive way. Teach them to be responsible for themselves and others. Teach them resilience. Now, resilience is not giving up irrespective of how many ever times you need to try. Now, for that, we are going to be an excellent role model. They are going to observe their parents, that how are they behaving in these uncertain times. Are we always anxious and angry and sad and unavailable to the kids, or we are dealing it in a very positive way and we are coming up with ideas to kind of bond well with the children? What is it that the parents are doing is what the child is going to absorb and learn. So you have to be a very good role model. Have positive communication with your kids. So if the child is example taking this and trying to break it, the first reaction that we have is that no, don't do that. What instead of that we can do is, can you please put it down? Can you please give it to me? Can you please put it back in the shelf? See to it that you don't use the word no, or you don't use the word don't. Make it a little more assertive and positive. Use this time to develop a very good emotional bond with your child. So if the child is playing something, however kiddish it can be, he's playing with the blocks, or he's trying to make a house with the pillows, just join them. Don't be judgmental. Let him play the way he is playing. Join it. You also be a part of it. Be a kid again, and see how refreshing and how calming this whole experience is when you relate with your child at that level, and when you have this amount of free time to do that. What else can the child be taught during these times is self-help skills. Like, there are times when the kids don't know how to button and to zip themselves, or to put a tie, or to put a belt, and the mothers have to do it because they are usually in a hurry. They have to go to school, or they are getting late for the tuition classes. So this is a good time to teach them those skills. It's a good time to also teach them helping in our day-to-day activities, like kneading the dough, or teaching them table manners, or teaching them how to fold clothes, how to rearrange certain particular shelf, how to rearrange the furniture of the house, cleaning the table, putting the plates when the members come for dinner, lunch, putting the plates back, helping mama with cleaning the utensils, mopping the floor. So these are all day-to-day activities wherein they can be involved according to their skill level, according to their understanding, according to their age, according to their fine motor, gross motor skills. So please do involve them in this. Now, when you are involving kids with these activities, it is in turn acting as a sensory diet for your child. Now, this is another topic which I won't be able to touch much, but there are certain senses which are very important for our brain, like movement, like pressure, like movement, pressure, which is going to calm the child down, alert the child. These are very, very important activities, and the sensory systems which can be helped by giving the child these self-help activities. So it completes what we as parents can do, right? So one is that you teach them, you be self-regulated, you teach them, you are co-regulating them, you are teaching them life skills, and you are teaching them self-help skills, which is in turn giving them the sensory diet of the vestibular, proprioceptive, olfactory, visual, auditory, all those sensory systems, majorly vestibular and proprioceptive and tactile, which will help their central nervous system to calm down and be more focused and more responsive and relaxed. Yeah. So now we come to what can be done up with the children. First of all, what we need to do is we need to give them routine. So I'll tell you how. Just a second. This routine page. So by the time we find it out, what can be done is we can sit. So this is how it would look: the morning routine, the afternoon routine, and the evening routine. So what can we do is mama and the child will sit together. They'll take a paper and they will write down. So morning, this time we wake up, this time we brush, this time we watch TV, this time we do this. The child will be involved in making this routine. It wouldn't be dictated by the parent. That's when the power play again comes into the picture. But it will be guided indirectly by the parent, such that you are having some preferable activities that the child loves and also some non-preferable activities which he doesn't like to do. It can be studying, it can be anything which he doesn't prefer, but that will be interspersed during the day. But the decision about what to do will be made by the child. And in this, which is another factor which is very important, is that the mother or the father, if they are working from home or even if they are housewives, they are at home, this particular time from morning 10 to 12, mama won't be available because she'll have to cook. This particular time from afternoon 3 to 5, papa won't be available because he has work from home. So whatever he wants to play with mama and papa is placed in such a way that during when these both parents are available, so that it is made already, it is pictorial, you can write it, you can draw it, and you can stick it wherever the child can see it, usually every day. Don't try to make a weekly or a monthly routine, try to make it day wise, that is proper morning, afternoon and evening. And see to it that you follow the routine and the child follows the routine. And when the child is prepared and the child knows that this is how the day is supposed to go, it gives his brain a lot of predictability and calm, right? Second is, what we can do is we can make a calming spot for the child. So when we as adults or we as kids, when we were very stressed out or we were scared or we had a very bad day, what we would want to do is come home, get into our bed, take our blanket and sleep off. Or many a times we would want to go to our parent and hug them and cuddle them. So these activities or these sensory stuff helped us calm down in our bad days. Now currently the situation, as we just discussed, the brain is going all haywire. So what we can do is select any corner of your house. You can take a cardboard or you can take a card box or a carton. You can stuff it with soft toys or you can stuff it with soft pillows, soft blankets, anything that the child loves. It can have few torches, it can have something that he loves to eat, it can have curtains, so it can have curtains lying down, it can have curtains coming up from here, making a tent like this, wherein he is in a box full of soft toys and soft pillows, and he can snuggle himself up and he can enjoy that me time. He can listen to music there. So that calming spot is going to play a very, very good role in helping your child calm down. Third thing that we can do is we can have such jars. So this is a calming jar, and this is an alerting jar. Yeah, so what I have done is I have just put few chits of activities that will help me calm down, and that will help me alert myself during days when I'm feeling too low because of lack of play and because of lack of movement. So the child will come, he will be able to tell you that I am a little low, or you can sense that the child is a little low, and you can open this bottle and you can ask him to pick up any chit which will have an activity which he can do, which will help him alert himself or herself. So this will also be made with you and the child sitting down, deciding what all activities help him to alert himself. It can be jumping over, it can be jumping on the sofa, it can be rolling, it can be having a fast paced dance or having a fast paced aerobic activity, anything. And for the calming activities, the child and you will sit and you will decide what is it that usually helps you to calm down. So it can be snuggling in the bed, it can be cuddling, it can be rolling themselves in a blanket, and it can be hugging their own soft toy or a teddy bear. Anything that the child comes up with and you come up with can be put in here, and it can be made a fun task for the kids. There is another good tool that can help you, which is called the zones of regulation. Now, how great it would be when kids will be able to tell you that this is what I'm currently feeling. So there are days when we don't feel good. We just know that we don't feel good, but we don't understand what is it that we are feeling. The point that we understand what is it that we are feeling, why is it that we are feeling, is when the higher centers of the brain will take control and will tell you what can you do about it. That's what we are trying to give the child now. So this is called, and we use it in occupational therapy, it is called the zones of regulation. Yeah. So what it does is, this program, it teaches the child that you can be in the blue zone, you can be in the green zone, in the yellow zone, and in the red zone. So what happens when you're in the blue zone, and it has got the pictures as well of the emotions or the facial features that you have. So when you're in the blue zone, you are a little low. You're not very energetic. You don't want to play much. You just want to lie down. So that's when you can say that you are in the blue zone. Then comes the green zone. Green zone is like, oh, I'm cool. I am all set. I'm alert. I'm ready. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to play. Then it can be the yellow zone. The yellow zone will tell you that I'm feeling a little worried, I'm feeling a little upset, I'm going towards that tangent of getting into a meltdown or a tantrum, but it usually tells me that I am a little upset and not okay. And this is the red zone. The red zone will tell you that I am absolutely angry and I'm not ready to listen, and I'm feeling my heart is pacing, and I'm feeling very angry about it, and I want to yell and I want to scream. So we have to first teach the child, where is it that you feel you currently are. You have to stick it there with these emojis or the facial features. Teach him that, and then the child will gradually be able to tell you that currently I am feeling this. Now, once they can say this is what they are feeling, what we can do is that we can ask them, what can we do or what can you do to get yourself out of the blue zone, yellow zone, and red zone and come to the green zone. So yeah, so here is another picture which tells you that what words can be used, that I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling sick, I'm feeling tired. So these are the words that can be used. Once the child understands that, we can always give him this choice card. So this is the child, and these are the choices that you have given. So I'll post these pictures if you want. I'll post these pictures if you want, which will help you understand this better. So we give choices that you want to go for a walk, or you want to run in the house, or you want a cuddle, or you want to eat something which is hard, or you want to jump 10 times, or you want to skip, or you want to do yoga. It gives options to them which they have to choose. So that's what zones of regulation is. It tells you which zone I am in, and then what can you do to come out of that zone. What can you do, as in what activities can you do. So if you're lethargic, you can do something which is more vigorous, and you can do something that you enjoy to come to a higher level, which is a green zone. And if you're too hyper and you're too hyper aroused and you want to run around all the time, you can do some yoga, you can do some fine coloring, mandala painting, something like that, finger painting, bubble bath, you can burst those bubble wraps. So that is going to calm the child down. So you'll have to figure out activities that you can do that will help the child calm down. So zones of regulation, you need to stick it so that the child can watch it and see it every day. Another good activity is especially for the kids who are usually restless. So when you tell them how restless you are, they don't get it unless we teach them, or the child can themselves say that I think I am feeling very hyper currently, or I'm feeling very low currently. So what we do in the clinic is we teach them this, which is called as how does your engine run. Okay, so we tell them you have a car within you, and the car has an engine, and the engine is usually, it is supposed to be at the right speed. You're not supposed to be too slow, and you're not supposed to be too fast. So when you're too fast, you're usually bumping onto things and you're not listening to mama, and you're restless and you're fidgety. You are breaking things, or you are jumping all over the place. And when you are too low, you are in the bed. You don't want to come out. You don't want to talk. You're lethargic, sleepy, not take part in any activities that parents plan. So then, similarly, as we discussed with zones of regulation, you can make activities which will help the child come from the high, like he's too fast, how can you come to the normal zone? And if you're too slow, how can you come to the normal zone? So the kids in the clinic, what they usually tell me is, ma'am, if I am too fast, I'm a fast engine right now, because I am feeling that my heart is racing and I want to run around. Can I jump for 50 times, or can I take this ball and throw it to you for 50 times, or can I just roll over on the floor for 10 times? This will help me calm down. When they are too low, they'll tell me that, or when they're too high, they'll tell me that, can I do some painting, or uh, uh, can we do some swinging that will help me calm down? So you have to figure out, sit with your child, tell them these things of how does your engine runs, or which zone of regulation you are in, and then sit down and figure out activities which will help the child come to that normal optimum level of arousal and functioning. Another most important question that parents are asking me otherwise as well is the screen time, which has increased multifolds because the kids have nothing to do and they are free all the time. So screen time, we cannot totally reduce it. Yes, it has to be given in moderation, but what we can do is, when they are having their screen time, we can make it more fun and educational so that they are learning and it is more productive. So I have made a list of few apps and television channels on YouTube or on the TV that you can let your child, see and have their screen time, and at the same time they are learning something out of it. So if you guys have a paper and pencil or a pen with you, you can note it down. So I'll just start. The first one is PBS Kids. P for parrot, B for Bombay, S for school. PBS Kids, Kids TV, Kids Camp, Brain Pop, Khan Academy Kids. It's an excellent app that you can install, and it gives you beautiful resource materials to teach concepts to your kids. Disney Byju's Early Learn app. Disney Byju's Early Learn app. Nick Jr., Vedantu, Fun Brain Jr., Phonics Ninja, Pizza Fractions. There are a host of other apps as well, but then I really like these, and you can choose them according to their child's age and the academic skills. Also, the another option is virtual tours. So now that people can't go out, a lot of places have come up with virtual tours wherein you can go, log in online, and you can actually feel as if you are present there and you're observing that particular place. So one is Explore the Solar System 360-degree. It's there on YouTube. It lets you as if you're actually in the space and you're watching all the planets around. And it can be a good experience for kids to learn about solar system. There is another, which is Cincinnati Zoo. Cincinnati Zoo. Every weekend in the afternoon, I don't know the time, but they come online on Facebook, wherein they show all the animals that they are in the zoo, and it's shown live. The same is available with Houston Zoo and also NASA's website. So NASA also has a lot of virtual tours, which they let you have a sneak peek into their own operating rooms, about how they are coming up with different projects. So you can actually go inside and virtually roam around and understand what is NASA trying to do. So it is an excellent experience, I'm sure, rather than watching the same cartoons and the fast moving cartoons which are not serving purpose for the kids at this phase of time. Also, I would like to touch upon to diet. So these days, because kids are home, either they are overeating, they are eating a lot of sugary food, chocolates, biscuits, wafers, confectionaries. So just a suggestion would be that see to it that the kids are having food at which is high in omega 3 fatty acid, which is good for their brains, and probiotics. So you can include a lot of greens, lentils, legumes, sprouts, yogurt, dahi into their diet, which will help keep the gut healthy, and in turn keep the brain healthy. And see to it that the sleep patterns are taken care of. Once you have the routine set with the child, I'm sure the sleep patterns will be taken care of, and the rest of all the haywire that is happening in the brain, the chemicals that are playing roles in it, everything will be taken care of, and you will have a happy, cheerful child, and which results in a happy, cheerful parent, which results in your good productivity from your work from home, which results in less stressed brain as an adult. Hello. So we had a small technical error. That's the reason the video stopped abruptly. The live stopped abruptly. So I just wanted to conclude by saying that I hope this live was helpful. It was insightful, and there are a list of other things, other activities that I have, which if you want, I can post it online, or I can post it in the comment sections about the calming activities, alerting activities. We can do that. In case there are any other doubts, you can anytime reach out to us. We are just a phone call away during these times of lockdown. And by this, I would like to end my live by showing you this, that it's time to say bye bye to this sad, tired brain, because we've understood it. It's time to say bye bye to this angry, agitated brain, and welcome to this calm, peace, meditative, responsive brain, and a brain full of oxytocin, GABA, and love. So, bye bye, signing off. Bye.